Hey man, hello and welcome to Relaxed Mel. So this week we're going to be talking about how do we develop a better form of communication and how can we actually cancel out all this darn canceling that's actually going on. So we'll be talking about that in our question of the week on episode number 45 of the Relaxed Mel. Hello and welcome to Relaxed Mel, podcast that helps men change their relationship with themselves. I am your host, Brian, and I am a men's life and mindset coach who is here to help you understand that you don't have to suffer at your own expense. You can live your dream, and I encourage you to set, then pursue your goals. So join me as I change the mindset and attitudes of men so that they can be the leaders of their families and their destinies. Hey man, hello and welcome to Relaxed Mel. All right, so we're going to be talking today a little bit about the cancel culture and kind of how that really isn't a good tactic to actually use on either side, because the right claims that the left is doing it a lot more, but I've seen evidence that the right does the same thing from time to time. But I want to talk about why the whole cancel culture phenomenon that's going on this past 7 or so years is just not really a good tactic to use, and why it's not really going to be changing people's minds. So if anything I say through this whole episode actually strikes a chord or starts to really sink home with you, and somebody who this would actually be a great episode for them to listen to, please go off, share this out to your Facebook friends, on your Twitter, share it out to a particular friend, send it through to a message. Most podcast apps these days have some type of sharing feature applied to them, so that you can actually just share a particular episode. Or if you're like an Overcast, you can actually, if there's a particular snippet that I say something just incredibly witty, which, it does happen from time to time. But, if I happen to say something very astounding or insightful, and you think it would really ring a bell for somebody, then you can actually even share that time snippet. So, but either way, share this out and help people know that the Relaxed Mel is out there and that it's available for their consumption. So, not much really going on with Relaxed Mel itself. I've been trying to get some just different things up and going. Been talking to quite a few people, and love having some of the conversations that I've been having, and just things are going good, growing. Events coming up. Nothing really major for the Relaxed Mel community itself. I am looking at seeing when would be a good time to try out the live event again, since last time just really didn't take off, and then whole COVID thing just completely decimated everything and any chance of a live event. So want to be able to get that going. I want to get us guys out and together, meeting each other and growing as a group should, and be able to help everybody to become the best man that they possibly can be. So now I want to go ahead and I know we've got just a limited amount of time. I want to go ahead. Well, I don't have a limited amount of time, but I know that your time is important. And so I want to go ahead and let's jump into the question of the week. And this question of the week, if you are wanting to have your question asked, or you have a question you want to ask me, and if I can talk, this would help out tremendously. If you want to have you have a question, you want to be able to ask it to me, you can do so in 2 different ways. You can either send an email over to Brian with a Y at relaxedmail.com, or you can go to relaxedmail.com/contact and fill out the form and submit it. And I would love to be able to read it on air. But then there are times that I don't have a question come in. And so I usually will grab the question of the week from Cora. And that's where we get this week's question from. The question is, my ex cut me out of his life because I was emotionally dramatic. How do I stop being that person? And is it bad to be an emotional person? All right. And I replied to the question asker, the questioners. There we go. That's the proper proper word. Yeah. I asked the questioners this, and I made this response. Well, you're being emotional. Or correction, I'm trying to read, and I don't read and talk in the same way. I asked them, are you being emotional for the sake of drama? Are you being just dramatic in your emotional actions because that seems like the proper response? And I know that all sounded as a kind of an odd way to phrase it, but some people do. Some people are just take everything. If they're going to be happy, they're just blowing it to, they're going to be bouncing off the walls, giddy. If they're going to be sad and dramatic, they're all, dramatic. Oh my, the world is coming to an end. The whole thing of being overly dramatic with your emotions serves some people. They don't feel like they're being emotional unless they're, over the top. They're acting completely Nicolas Cage, or some people's emotional ranges are very mellow. We almost go to the point of being stoic, where we realize our emotions are there, but we don't push those emotions out in front of everybody. Those are things that we process. And so emotions just really vary from person to person. Now, are you able to control that level? Are you able to go from 11 to maybe a 5 on your emotional scale? Well, actually, yes, you can. Say you are in your ideal job. You're doing precisely what you want to do. You're in the company, in the best company for that, and you're rocking it. You're the top employee because you're just really tapping into and embracing your passion. Well, they say they've got a company meeting. You go in and you find out that the department that you're working in is getting transferred to a town that is 8 hours away. Well, you're going to be able to control. If you love your job so much that you're willing to stay there, you're going to be able to control that emotion. You're not going to go all of a sudden stand up and go, no, you're not going to do that. You can control the level of your emotions. Just the problem a lot of people have, especially those who want to just be overly dramatic, emotionally dramatic, is that they don't pay attention to what their level is in most instances. Even if you're emotionally dramatic, you're not going to just crank it up to 11 as this is Spinal Tap goes. You're not going to crank it all the way up to 11 and just let emotions fly any which way, but you're going to go high whenever you think that it serves you. But I want to actually post the thought of, is that emotional outburst, whether it's happiness, sadness, anger, melancholy, depression, exhilaration, or what, is having that emotional outburst really serving you, or is it an indulgence for you? And indulgence are just things that you do because you think that that's what you need to do, and it really doesn't serve you. And I posted that to that particular person that you can control your emotional outburst. So how do they stop being that person? Well, you stop being at 11 all the time when it comes to your emotions. Pay attention to what you're doing emotionally. And if you notice that you're hovering around 9.5, veering up to 10, you dial it back a little bit. Okay, well, let's cool it a little bit. You may be a little awkward, be a little weird the first few times that you're, paying attention to what your emotional level is, but you can actually, yes, you can control being a emotionally dramatic person. But I also cautioned the questioner to not turn that emotional level off, because emotions are important for us all. Even her ex, who cut her out of her life, he has his bits of emotions. That's one reason why he probably cut her out of the life, is because he saw that emotionally dramatic instances as being embarrassing or frustrating or trivial in many ways. And he decided that he had had enough. And it was like, well, we're not having anything to do with the emotional Looney Tooney over here. No one talked to her, no one looked at her. I mean, just let her go. But is being an emotional person bad? No, we all have emotions. We all are emotional beings. We all have anxieties and fears and apprehensions. We also have the good emotions. We have the highs, we have the lows, and those are what make us wonderful people. I love emotions because emotions color our memories. Our memories are not so much the instance of the details of what we remember, but it's about what we felt. I have memories of walking around the small town of Pottsville, and there's times that I will catch especially in the spring, when you catch the smell of the trees starting to leaf. And I don't know if you've ever really paid attention. Smells are very strong with me. I like the different types of smells, and the smell of humidity and the green and all that really brings to me the memory of walking around in Pottsville, and the smell of cut sage go through. And my granddad would have wild sage growing somewhere on his property, and as he'd mow across it, just this aromatic, or this powerful aromatic, I don't think that's a real word, but this powerful aroma would come about and would just basically smack you upside the head. And I remember a couple of times where, it really kind of rocks your head back a little bit. But now I catch that smell, and it transports me back to me being a little kid in Pottsville, watching my granddad ride with his riding lawnmower, cutting the grass on the back portion of his property. Those emotions are important to us. So those emotions are what make us who we are. They are just really important for everybody. And we all have the emotions. We all have those fears and those moments of joy. And I encourage people to embrace those feelings that you have, because that is you. There are your feelings. Those are your emotions. And the only person that can feel those emotions are you. Yes, you can share try to share and convey that emotion to other people, but they're not ever going to really feel that sense of pride when your son walks across the stage to receive his college diploma or his high school diploma, because they didn't see all the struggles that you had with your son to get him to that level. And your sense of emotion, of pride and joy and accomplishment, is not going to be the same as what your son. So we all have our own emotions and our own thoughts that are from those, that create those emotions. And so that's what makes human beings, though messy we are, such an incredible, beautiful species on this earth. So to go from all those types of emotions, I want to jump into the main topic. And before I do, I'm going to start doing this a little bit more, just because, well, I would like, not even really, I'm not even going to fully explain it. But what we're going to do is, from now on, question of the week, I'm actually going to start throwing a bit of a sponsor into the question of the week. And so that question of the week is actually going to be brought to you by the Brotherhood of Man. Now, this used to be known as the Conclave of Men, and I'm still making some of the changes to it. But it is what this is a men's group. It is based upon what's called the mastermind format, where we get together. We're there to help each other out. We are wanting to take the men who want to improve themselves. They see that their son is struggling, but they don't know how to help their son. Men are seeing that their wives are not quite as close to them as they once were. Maybe the sex life has dipped way, way down or become almost non-existent. Or maybe you're just realizing that there's something more in life and you don't know where to turn. Well, the Brotherhood of Men is just that. We are a group who meet once a week, and they are there to help you. It's a portion of an accountability group, but also to help you when you run into those different barriers. Sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees, and to get around that, one of the best things to do is to ask somebody else, somebody who's been there. You may not even realize they've been there, or even somebody who's not ever actually been exactly in that same predicament, so they don't know all the details that you know, and they can come up with a solution that is completely different to what yours are. And so I've got some openings available for the Brotherhood of Men. This is a year-long commitment, but it's right now I am running the special of you can get in here at $150. Once that happens, my first group, I get the first 12 people in, that's jumping up to $200. So if you're wanting to be a part of this group, you're wanting to be a part of Brotherhood of Men, and you want to be able to get yourself up to flatten that learning curve a bit, then I would recommend you come over, join up with the Brotherhood of Men, embrace this group so that and see what the actual and full potential of your life actually is. So now let's jump on over to the main topic. And the main topic is canceling, how to cancel the canceling. Now this year seems to almost be out at a feverish pitch, and a lot of people have heard of and are aware of what the cancel culture is. The cancel culture is basically anybody says anything or has done anything that you absolutely cannot stand, detest, or object to, try to get them canceled. And the cancel culture itself, I really started to notice, was back in about 7 years ago, really. There was instances where somebody had made a comedian or somebody from had made a off-color joke, an inappropriate in today's standards joke 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and their words that they had said back when the internet was just starting to become popular are being drug out. People are scouring Twitter feeds for anything that could be seen as offensive or anything like that, and would throw that at their people's faces, and would create such a stink about it that the person would step down from their position of not power, but would step down from their position. A lot of times these were people who were on television, and if they had they were unpopularly viewed, then they would have their past mistakes thrown in their face, and would try to embarrass them enough to where they would leave and step down from their position of power. Say it was on a television, they were an influencer of some sorts. And that has grown more and more and more and more to where people are getting banned from social media, getting their social media accounts banned. People are getting silenced. And in all reality, they're trying to make the world a better place. I get why they're trying to do it, but there's such a misguided reason as to why they're doing it. Because one, canceling a person out, silencing that person doesn't actually fix the problem. Yeah, you showing other people like you do this, you're going to get the same results. Doesn't really work. But now people are starting to we've got a lot of people who on both sides who are getting really fed up with being canceled out. And so to make it harder to be canceled, they're getting louder. They're getting more audacious, and they're starting to really say stuff that just doesn't fit the realm. And people claim to hate Trump so much, but Trump is a product of the political culture these days, where, yeah, he's going to say stuff that is just outrageous and right there in your face, and he's doing it unapologetically. And that's what everybody on the right loves about him, is that he will say it like it is. And the right's absolutely tired of being, having everything thrown in their face. And yeah, I know I'm talking a lot about, and I love my friend of mine, Jake Warner, calls politics this, and I love this. He calls it parlor tricks, which just fits it perfectly to a T. It's just, oh yeah, he did such a wonderful job with that, using that word or those words to represent politics, because it's, they're parlor tricks. Either way, they are parlor tricks, and parlor tricks, sounds like politics. So anyhow, I think it's great. But anyhow, it's you get on Facebook now, and it's almost, or at least for me, it is, and a lot of it is because of algorithms. I get it, but I'm getting to the point where I'm actually thinking of throwing some type of extension on my browser, like remove all politics, so that what that particular extension, browser extension does, and I think there's another one that's similar to it, but there's a couple that are very much like that, and it's like Control My Social or something like that. But there's I'll put a link to it in the show notes. But it takes anything that's got a particular keyword in it and just it blocks it out from the Facebook feed. So if you're getting tired of seeing a whole bunch of political comments and political this or political that, it's, there's a couple of friends who sadly I wouldn't be able to see for a while until the elections are done and over with, and then maybe they will calm down, and one side may calm down while the other side is going to go jump up to a feverish pitch, and that's no matter what side. And so, and I know I'm just as guilty about jumping into the political phrase. I love having those discussions, but I also want to have the discussions. Yeah, I'll do the little jabs. During the first presidential debate that we had just at the end of September, I was right there in the middle of everybody else. I was poking all the bears with a very short stick, just seeing see how many people would block me on Twitter, just because that's kind of what Twitter has devolved to, is see who can piss off who the most. And I failed miserably at that. By the way, only that I know of, I had like 3 people block me. So, but it was such a fun free for all. I mean, it was just as much of a hot dumpster fire as the debate itself was, where nothing was being seen. And you can take the debates themselves as being sums up the whole Facebook, Twitter, all the political discussions. It's just everybody's talking over each other. No ideas are being communicated. No thoughts are being shared. It's my side, and that's my side's right, and my side is the only one that's is the real side that's going to do great for America. And in all reality, no, it's not. That's the worst thing you could do, because what we're doing right now, the way we keep fighting against each other, is shoving each side further and further and further away from the extreme. or from the middle and more out to the extremes. And this is what is the big problem. We're afraid of having a bunch of socialists take over. Well, guess what? We're shoving those people over to the socialist side. They're afraid we're going to be over to the in all reality, we're more the right is more of an anarchist extreme than what they like to try to call the right. The right, and they want to make us totalitarian. But if you look at what the right actually stands for and what the left actually stands for, we're more libertarian, and even to the extreme libertarian of where they're to that of a more of a lawless, where we govern ourselves type of lawlessness. The problem that we're having is that no one is actually paying attention to what the facts are. They're not looking at the facts. We're not actually talking. We're talking at each other. We're yelling at each other. We're not actually having an open and honest discussion. And because, you hear people, well, at least on Twitter, I was hearing everybody say, well, you need to arrest that criminal Trump. No one has yet to be able to actually tell me what crime is it they claim Trump has done. And I've had a couple people try to say that it was like the whole being working with the Russians, but that's been shown time and again that wasn't right. We've shown where those reports of him being there were actually just created by a writer and didn't have any facts in what he was saying at all. But that's neither here nor there. But what's actually happening is that we've got the one side has their words, their statements, their beliefs, and the other side has their thoughts and their beliefs, and everybody's sitting there just smacking each other against their heads against each other's heads, and are not making any headway on either way. When what it really needs to be done is to be sat down, to be and to talk. Now, the problem that you have with the cancel culture is that you're causing people to not talk. And it's a lot like being in an abusive relationship where the abuser wants to control as much of the narrative as they possibly can. And so to do that, if you say anything out of line, well, you're going to get whacked. You're going to get canceled in one way or another. But if that happens long enough, what ends up happening is the person who is being abused gets fed up with it and will do one of two things. They either are going to get the heck out of the relationship or they're going to fight back. And that is because the abuser never changed the person being abused's mind. It never was able to imprint that, yeah, I am the one who's in control and you're doing everything wrong and you should be sorry for feeling wrong. And it's the same thing that's happened in several different countries. You look at China. You say something horrible about China. You talk about their human rights record and Tiananmen Square never happened according to China. Yeah, the rest of the world knows about Tank Man, but in China, no, nothing. Tiananmen Square is essentially scrubbed. And that's because of the reason why. There was a change of idea. The people who want freedom, who want that, people who have a particular mindset and a particular line of thinking, they don't want to be under the control and the thoughts of the Chinese government. And if you do say anything bad about China, guess what? You're going to probably disappear. You may reappear later after going through a re-education camp and becoming politically correct, or you may just wind up in a ditch. Same thing happened in Soviet Russia, where, well, I mean, there's still acts of people who are saying things bad about the government. And I forget who it was, but someone just here recently got poisoned because they were against Putin. And he Putin didn't like the fact that he was not on his side, and so wound up being poisoned. They caught the poison in time. So I believe that the ambassador, whatever ambassador it was, or whoever it was, is going to survive and recover. But it's not just the fact that they didn't have the ability to even have their own line of thinking. Yeah, China, you can think whatever you want as long as it's in the same line as what the government officials say. This is kind of a lot like how the cancel culture does. You can think any thought you want as long as it's the thought we approve of. And that doesn't help us grow. Yeah, we have to have those uncomfortable conversations. We have to have those discussions where we really don't like what we're hearing. Silencing people doesn't change that person's mind. As a matter of fact, it actually concretes that line of thinking. You don't want racists around? Well, probably the best way not to have racists around is to actually sit around and talk about it and actually have a discussion, not walk up and down the streets with bullhorns getting in people's faces as they're enjoying their ice cream at a Baskin Robbins, but to actually have those discussions with the people who have an opposing view. You might find that all of a sudden those people really aren't nearly as racist as you wanted to assume they were. And remember what assume is. It's us, you and me. So to assume everybody is racist doesn't work. To assume that one particular race of people is more criminal than the other doesn't work. You sit around and you actually get to talking. It's like, there's a black man who actually became friends with one of the high leaders of the Ku Klux Klan. And I'll see if I can find that story, but actually got around to talking to him and he was a reporter, if I'm remembering right. And he didn't mention anything about his race, but went in and talked and had he had a bodyguard there. And they were both very tense that first time they met. And they kept coming back and talking again and sharing ideas and sharing thoughts and having an honest and open dialogue. And what happened is that grand poobah master wizard dragon leader of the Ku Klux Klan that he was, quit the Ku Klux Klan and became an advocate for getting rid of the Klan. He took the time to change another man's mind. And to do that's not instant. It's not going up to somebody and saying, "You're a racist." Well, that's not going to fix anything because you have something called psychological reactance, which goes, "Screw you, I'm not either." Even if they were to do something that was racist. Go off and say, made some stereotypical comment about one race and turn around, and then say, "Well, that was really racist." Well, that's not going to change the person's mind. It might have them realize, "Oh, well, that was insensitive," and they may change that way because you had a discussion afterwards. Well, dude, that's kind of, you shouldn't talk like that. That's really kind of a jerk move. "Oh, really? I didn't realize. I'm sorry. That's just how my grandparents raised me." You have those types of discussions. You have to have those honest discussions. You also don't see. Well, there's a saying that I say a lot of that I love to use quite often, and that's anytime you point a finger, there's three more pointed back at you, and that's when you run up to somebody and you say a black man runs up to a white guy because the white guy did something and he says, "All you white people are racist." Well, guess what? That's a stereotype that he's throwing out to a white guy. And so in the very act of stating that stereotype shows that, there's a bit of racism over on his side too. And you can reduce that whole racism tension right there by, instead of just pointing a finger and getting in a person's face and yelling at them, sitting down and going, dude, have some type of conversation, have an honest discussion. Drop the whole agenda of trying to make this person understand, but instead get to know the person, talk and try to understand, and come to know this person, and you can then have access to their mind and be able to make the changes that you actually want. Yelling doesn't serve you, while actually talking does. And so what lessons did we learn from this? Well, one, yelling doesn't do anything. Getting in a person's face, holding up a bullhorn, doing anything along those lines is not going to do anything to change a person's mind. And as a matter of fact, more than likely, you're actually cementing that thought even stronger. Well, they're just a bunch of jerks. They don't even know what they're talking about. And all of a sudden, to change a person's actions, thought processes, and things like that just doesn't work. You can also sit down and talk with people. Do that uncomfortable thing. Talk with someone who you don't agree with and come to understand. You might find out that they're actually a pretty nice dude. They actually have a lot of the same problems and a lot of the same stripes and a lot of the same issues that you run into also. But also, finally, have patience. Talking with somebody and changing their mind is not a 30-minute debate. It takes months, if not years, of being a friend, getting in there, being a part of their life, living life with them. As the saying goes, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most intentional time with. So spend the time with people. With you spending time with people causes your thoughts and your values to be ingrained into them. So, guys, I'm going to go ahead and I'll start wrapping this up. I want to thank you again. If you are interested in joining the Brotherhood of Men, please go over to brotherhoodofmen.com. I just realized I was talking about Brotherhood of Men and I never did give the link. That would be relaxedmale.com/brother. So if you go to relaxedmale.com/brother, that'll take you to the page for the Brotherhood of Men. And there you can actually go in and sign up. It's not an instantaneous sign up. I actually am going to, you'll fill out a form. We'll sit down, we'll talk with you, and we'll go through and have a discussion and see exactly how well of a fit you will be in. There's also 4 different groups that you can be a part of. We have Tuesday meetings and Thursday meetings, 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening, same for Thursday. So, guys, I want to thank you again for listening. Y'all have a great day. If you liked this show, please click subscribe, and that way you'll get the actual each new episode as they come out. It'll automatically be downloaded to your phone or iPad or whatever listening device you have. If you could also do me a favor, go to relaxedmale.com/podchaser. That's PODCHASER. Podchaser. That will take you to our Podchaser page, and there you can leave a rating and review. Those help me out tremendously. Just puts a little gas in my tank, lets me know whether I'm on the right track or if I'm veering off somewhere and you want to know more about something else. So, guys, thank you again for listening. Y'all have a great day, and we will talk to y'all later. Till then, bye.